Hi guys, Nomis here. Welcome to the first episode of this Cities Skylines series, where I will be building the city of Nomishavn. This is a fictional Scandinavian city. I will be taking inspiration from places around Norway, Sweden and Denmark obviously, but parts of it will also be inspired by other European cities, possibly also some American cities from the East Coast more specifically. In general, the focus will be on making the city a pleasant place for the citizens. The map I chose is rivet reported from the workshop, which is simply beautiful and perfect for this project. Plenty of buildable land and a lot of rivers and coastline, as well as some nice mountains for the backdrop and possibly some smaller builds. For this build, I want to start off a little different and actually start straight off with building a major train station. This will be the oldest train station in the city, and the style will reflect that. This first district, that could be said to be the old town, is called Bjorgvin, an older name of the city I grew up in Norway. Most of the city will be pretty dense, but not a lot of skyscrapers. This will possibly only be in some of the more modern parts of the city. Geographically, the city is close to all three Scandinavian countries, and different roads and railways will lead out to all of these countries. The law for this place is that it is a city-state that became independent sometime during the 1800s when it was a part of the Swedish-Norwegian Union. Even though the inspiration from the Scandinavian countries will be clear, it is a fictional city and will be taking a lot of creative freedom, and some parts might not be places you can recognize or find in any cities in these countries. There will be a heavy focus on rail in the city, with plenty of metro, trains and trams. So the spot I chose here for the train station is right by the starting tile. It already has excellent rail connection built into the map, and I'll be adding more rail connections and new outside connections going out of the city, just to replicate a bunch of international long distance train lines going into the city. And the road I'm using here for the train station to sit on is a tram exchange segment from the workshop. It has 4 different tracks of light rail in the middle, which is great for creating a sort of a tram hub in front of the station. I'll be using a lot of tram in the city. As I mentioned earlier, it's good to have connectivity in one of the main stations going into the city. And the assets I'm using for the station, which we will see in a second here, is a modular collection from the workshop, which is called Noistat, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm not gonna copy it directly. I believe the real life version is a true running station in Dresden in Germany, but I will be building mine as a Terminus station. So now I'm just gonna be putting together the station building, and then I'm going to be adding some station halls on the back to create sort of the framework for the whole station. So now we're just gonna have a look at what we have to work with here. We already have the framework of a nice big and important building. And as you can see, we have 8 big station halls beneath the building, which each will hold 2 platforms on a double station track, which we will I have these custom station tracks that I've downloaded from the workshop, which is what you need if you're gonna make a modular station like this function. So now I'm taking a station track, I'm just dragging it out about 24 units. I found this works well to have the space for some longer train models, and if it's a lot longer than this, sometimes it will be bugging out. And I'm also adding a short segment of normal tracks just to have the switch back in the end of the station tracks, because it's easier to work with that way when you have the edge. And now I'm just gonna just move it into place, and then it's gonna be a lot of IMT just to add things like the platforms, some plot surfaces, and some repeated patterns of props like station displays, trash cans, and things like that, which I then can just copy over 8 times. I'm also gonna add some metro underneath, a 4 platform station, just for future proofing, so we can have easy access to the rapid transit network throughout the city when you arrive. And also I'm gonna be adding some retaining walls around the whole station and on the side of the station halls, just to tie it all together. And then we're just gonna have a look at what we have to work with. Okay, now just let's have a look at what we've done here. Could have seen in timelapse that I just finished the basic repeated patterns of props for all the platforms, and then I just copied it over with IMT. So now we have the whole station filled up with the 16 different platforms. Now we're just gonna have a look at how it looks at night. You might have seen that I added these kind of old hanging lamps on all the station halls. I think it looks really nice just to have some lighting at night on the platforms. Obviously at daytime you will have some sun shining through, so normally they wouldn't be needed except for nighttime. So now we're just gonna have a look at how we're gonna make all the platforms actually function. So I'm gonna start with just a basic pavement path, and for this part it's important that you keep it elevated. So we're just gonna push it through the building, and then I'm gonna copy it over to the other entrance, so that all the sims will use both of the entrances to the station. And what we're gonna do now, we're gonna connect them together, and then what we need to do is kind of drag out paths between all the tracks, and then we have to push them out over the tracks to make them connect. And the way you have to do that, I'm gonna show just now in a second. You have to keep the elevator like this, and then you have to position it over the track. And when you have it above the track, then you just push page down one time. Then you will see what happens. So now you can see it kind of floats in the air, and if you zoom in, you will see some of the color from the surfacing on the path spill over, and then that's how you know that it's connected. So now we're just gonna, after I've done this, I'm just gonna use move it to copy it over and place it down between all the platforms, and then we're gonna be back. So there we go. Now you can see we have all of the different platforms with the elevated concrete paths attached to all the different tracks. And after I've done this, of course, I noticed that the metro entrances that I added earlier doesn't have a connection to a path, so that's what I'm trying to do now before we move on. So as you can see here, I'm just deleting what I've done after a bit of failure. As you can see, the end of the path had like a rounded end, which means that it's not an end node. So I'm doing here just the same that I've done with while connecting to the tracks. I just push page down when I have the path over it, and now you can see it has an end node. And that's the same thing with the tracks that I showed earlier. You see it has like it ends without the rounded end, and that's how you know that it's connected. Now I'm just doing the same here, and that means that the paths will connect down to the metro also for transfer in the future. I will just keep these paths elevated like this. Of course it looks kind of ugly like this now, but I'm just keeping them as reference while I'm detailing, and then I will be converting them to invisible pedestrian paths later on when I have all the detailing done, because I don't want to be detailing something that will be in the middle of the path and then have the sims walk through the props, which looks really stupid. And now for the entrances, of course, in the front we have the doors already on the outside, but we need to add some props for the doors inside. And now we still have the paths for reference, so you can see exactly where we want to put the doors. These are of course a lot more modern than the doors outside, but I think it's okay because we'll see these kind of stations in real life that has more modern, like automatic doors on the inside, while it keeps like the classic facade outside. And of course with the prop control, I just can resize it to fit the path more perfectly, and I just copy it over. So now that's done, now I'm just gonna go ahead and do a whole lot of detailing. Or you can of course see this bare wall where I will be adding a lot of facilities. I'll be adding like ticket machines, bathrooms, and I will even be putting down some commercial assets, maybe some fast food places, some small stores, grocery stores, things like that. And then I'll add some prop detailing around the actual platforms also, maybe some advertisements, vending machines, things like that. I'm also gonna go ahead and add a second 4-track metro platform underground and put it kind of in a different direction from the one I already placed, so that they cross over, and I will be putting it lower down and then have the entrances connect to those as well. So you will have actually 8 platforms underneath for the people to connect to all the different lines that we will have later on. I will also be doing some light detailing on the actual metro stations. The stations are from the BM Metro collection from the workshop, and I'll just be adding some advertisements and some of the assets that are downloaded. I downloaded some of the London transport props, and I will be just using those as signs just to have like the metro sign on the entrances, because I don't like that it says subway because it sounds kind of too American. So I'm gonna put like a round little sign there that says metro, and then I'll be using those signs as well to have the names of the stations on the wall when you arrive. And then we can have a look at what the next steps will be for the build. Okay, so that was a lot of work detailing this up. As you can see here, it's probably a couple of hours just detailing all of this up. So I hope the time lapse wasn't too long. I was trying to cut it down as much as I could possibly. Just let me know in the comments what you thought about it. So we're just gonna start here at the wall. We have a bunch of shops, so people are arriving or waiting for the train to leave can do some shopping, if like shopping for like Armani, or if they want McDonald's, some food, or if they want to go to the toilet, grab some groceries or some Lush and all kinds of things, grab some Starbucks. And also we have the kind of like the food commercials. I will put down these table props and some sitting sims. I've done the same thing over here by the Burger King, and then we have this little row of food commercial here. Then of course put these waiting room props. This is part of the Nomishavn modular station set. I think in real life these are like waiting rooms, but I've just put those along the side here and also on the other side. I'm just thinking this could be like maybe break rooms for employees at the station. Then of course on each side we have the metro entrances, and I used some signs which is like the roundel from which you can see on the tube in London, and I just used them to cover up the subway sign because I wanted to say metro instead. And then these vending machines we have throughout the whole station. And these things here, I've used set like a collection on the workshop. I believe it's called City Advertising PO Pack. So it is blank advertising props that you can add textures with PO. So I've just downloaded these templates and put in a bunch of Norwegian ads just to give it that Scandinavian flair, really. Which I think came out looking pretty nice. We have some here, some TV shows, Norwegian cheese, delicious. And then I also added these signs along the beams here. Oh, looks like I missed one here. So you see the platform or track number, so it's easier for a citizen to kind of navigate. I'm just gonna make sure we have all of them here. And as you come in, you might have seen I've got these bigger station displays that's hanging from the roof, if I can find them. Here you can see when you come in the main entrance, to look up you have like these bigger station displays, which has like the overview of the whole station, and one on each side on like the two station halls that you can see when you come in. And if we go underground, I've done some light detail here as well. This is the BM metro assets that I just connected with pathways. Looks really great already. I just did a few like customizations. Like I've added some of the same advertisements with the advertising pack, and I've also added, this is actually the metro map from Oslo, but I just think it looks pretty nice, and it has like this really cool loop line through the city center. And I've seen these kind of maps on metro stations all over the world, so I just wanted to add that little detail. And then we have also these roundels again, and now with the name on the station I've added 3 on each side, so like 1 on each end and then in the middle as well. And when we go on the outside, I've added these like sidewalk cafes in the front, which is like outdoor seating for what we can say is like restaurants in the front. This will be like more like fine dining if you don't want the kind of fast food that you have inside of the station. I've added all the front, and you will have seen I've added like block commercials that you can just put inside the building, and then it will act as commercial buildings. And on the end, so I added the office blocks inside here, so we can imagine it's kind of like some offices for maybe like the National Railway Company. And then we have this horse statue and just the station name. I really hope to have like a more like old classic sign with like Gothic letters, but there's nothing really on the workshop, so this will have to do, I guess. And then I did some more IMT work, just adding some trees and planters and some more street lights, which look really nice at night, kind of like really classic ones. I've added those at the sides here as well, and you can see here I added lots and lots of bike parking. I want this to be like a really bike friendly city, so I want to really emphasize that with the detailing. And here we have some bike sharing props and some stations, and this is like a prop for like maybe this is where you check out the bikes or whatever, and I will want to have these throughout the city, probably like a national bike sharing program. And then I started adding like more of a tram avenue just to set it up for later. Is the from the LRT network on the workshop, which is real nice, just so much more realistic looking and more detailed tram networks. So now that we have the station, we are just missing one thing, which is of course the trains. So we have 8 tracks here that we'll have to set up, and of course here we have some tracks already. So I want to just like trim these back, and I don't want to have like this junction. I just want to have this one go over here and like go over there on their own, and probably want to make like a separate cargo network later on. So I'm just gonna do some tidying up here. Alright, so now before I do anything with the tracks, I just want to replace all of these vanilla tracks just so they fit better with the networks I have here. So I'll be using the, what's it called, the Run Network Replacer. So I need to find the surface ones. You can see here we selected the train tracks. So then we want to swap it for the European mainline rail. Just press replace all. There we have it. So I want to start off by just trimming back some trees, just so we have some space to work with. This is just gonna be like a big chunk of railway, so we don't want any trees poking through. Just to make it easier, we're gonna use the node controller just for easy connection. We're gonna run this for a while. I'm not sure why it's doing this. Okay, we're gonna do it some other way. Alright, so now we have this first one set up, and then just want to continue these two and connect it up with this one as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm just running these for a while before I try to smoothly connect them up. Then we're just gonna do a bit of node controller, square them up, and then do some dragging just to make it curve a bit smoother. I think that looks okay. Can maybe do a little fine tuning on that in the time lapse. So now we're gonna have a look at how we're gonna get some trains in there. So when you're doing stations like this with just station tracks, it doesn't actually take intercity trains. So that's why you need to do a trick. So first we're gonna fix this one here. Because you can see if you go into the trains, you can actually start lines on this one and at the end track without the connection. So if you make lines here going to your station, people from outside, tourists and citizens moving in will actually use this line, so it will essentially work as an intercity train. And the best part is you can actually control the number of vehicles and the frequency yourself without the random AI. This just sends a bunch of empty trains or doesn't send trains at all. But since we just have this custom station tracks, it doesn't actually spawn any trains. So what we need is an actual train station to just spawn them. So what I do is I usually just place down vanilla train station, then I just move it over here like this. Let's just put it around here. Doesn't need to look well because it's not gonna stay there, it's just for spawning trains really. Then we're gonna have a connection here. Just gonna smooth that out so it can actually be used. Okay, so now we're going to try to just make a line. Then we can just put that right there. Then go straight back. Then I want to change the color. And I've downloaded a bunch of these assets from the workshop. These are high-speed trains, so I want to have a bunch of high-speed rail, like long-distance high-speed rail going into the city. So this is ICE 3, the German high-speed rail. So then we can actually hit play and see if we get some trains spawning. Here we can see the train is spawning from the vanilla train station. Then it's going over here to start its route. Of course now you can see cargo trains leaving, but when we come to do some kind of distribution center, we're gonna separate and make like a separate outside connection for the cargo trains so they don't interfere. So I did at first have some problems with trains leaving, and what I had to do was actually like drag the node where the outside connection track was meeting, because the segment wasn't long enough for the train. So now we can finally see the train tracking along, and it's going pretty comfortable speed going straight into our station. This one isn't great for first-person camera, I guess. And now we can see the train is actually stopping in our station, which is great news. We have all the fake people waiting. You see it's nice and tight up to the platform. And you can see the length is actually pretty perfect. So for the other outside connections, we just want to make sure that the connection track on the outside connection is actually long enough, and we'll be making some outside connections of our own as well. For example, I can just show quickly how we're going to do that. So for example, we're wanting one here on the other side of the, what we want to do is going to find it, type in connection track. There we are, train connection track, because I don't think you can find this in the train menu. You have to go in the find it mod. They want to be right up on the outside connection. Then what I usually do is I drag out like 24 units, because then you can fit the longer trains. There, then you go into node controller and just remove this. And now you can see you have the arrows back and forth. That means you have successful outside connection. And if we click here, you can see this one can also hold the line. So what we want to do now is we want to pull out the tracks from all those 4 other stations and create some more lines, some more outside connections. I want to have some over here and some over here, and maybe even some going up into the mountains. And then of course I'll do some detailing, detail up this huge area, maybe even have some parked trains, maintenance, and then I'll have some gravel overgrowth, and then I'm gonna add some fencing around, because we need that for security reasons. So let's just get to it. So as you saw in the time lapse, I just went ahead and put in lots of rail networks throughout the map. It's slowly but steadily starting to come in some trains there, and it's really satisfying to look at, just seeing them coming in and out and all the different platforms. Of course we don't have, as we can see, we don't have train lines on everyone yet, but we have like 4 platforms that's not used yet. One of them, like this one, just need to fix my LUT. This one here would probably be some local line up in the mountains if we ever come to build there. So I'll just have this on a dead end for now. And so after we put in the network, we did a bit of natural detailing, like just extended the gravel out and done some overgrowth and rocks around and put some stain decals to roughen it up a bit. Then I also put some extra tracks here in the middle just for some train parking. I don't actually know how realistic this is to have like trains parked in the middle of these tracks right by the train station, but I kind of like the look of it, having like the parked trains when you enter the station. So I'm just gonna leave it for aesthetics. Didn't consider having like a maintenance shed somewhere around here, but I couldn't really find the space for it, so that's probably gonna be somewhere else. And we're also gonna use some IMT to just close off this area with some retaining walls, which is also from the Neustadt modular pack, which looks just great on the both sides here. So we have this big close-off area here with trains departing and arriving all the time, and it's so satisfying to look at all these networks. So I hope you liked today's build. I think it turned out pretty well, and I'm really pleased with the look of it, I must say. This is still very new to me, creating this kind of content, especially I use my own voice. Really appreciate any comments and a thumbs up if you like it, or dislike if you will dislike it. If people enjoy it, I will continue creating content like this, and if people don't like it, well, I will probably still keep creating. Creating videos is something I really enjoy, and it goes really well within this game for me. For me it is a great place for world building and just exploring creativity, at least the way I play it. Of course I know the game might be very different for other players. But that's it for now. In the next video I should really start building some actual residential areas, so we can see people flowing through this big station that would probably cost tons in real life. Good thing I'm playing with infinite money on. Anyways, enjoy some cinematics and have a good day.